Hi, everyone. This is your host, Raven Syed, and welcome back to Forgotten Echoes, a podcast where we dive into the mysterious and unexplained cases of Black women and girls that often get lost in time. And I've had to cut this like 3 times because my dogs will not stop fighting around me. Oh my gosh. Happy Friday, or happy whatever day you're listening to this episode. It's Friday over here. I rarely record on Fridays because it's usually wild in my house, but this is the only time that worked, and it's been a good day. I went to a bar class, and that was great, and got a coffee after, and now I'm recording, so feeling good. Now, as always, don't forget to subscribe to Forgotten Echoes, download this episode. Yes, I'm telling you, not suggesting it. And leave a comment so that you can tune in anytime, anywhere. And as usual, because I don't say it enough, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know it probably sounds a little dramatic, but seriously, Forgotten Echoes wouldn't be here without you. So whether you tune in religiously every week, or you just drop by, or maybe you just shared the podcast with someone, but you don't listen yourself. Regardless, I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you. Every month, and with honestly every episode, we get more views, more downloads, more listens, and we're really starting to pick up pace when it comes to growing. So that is all because of you. Thank you for tuning in and supporting the podcast however you can. And with that being said, I'm thinking about doing something special for the listeners and starting a Patreon account. So how it works, it's an extremely small fee. Once again, I don't even know if I'm going to start this right away. I was thinking between episodes 20 and 25, so that'd be July, maybe early August. But right now, just throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing how people feel about it. But essentially, it would be an extremely small fee. I'm talking like $2 a month, $3 a month, something like that. And you would get a couple bonus episodes. Full transparency, I have a full-time job as an analyst outside of this. I am a corporate girly. And I also am an indoor rowing instructor. So your girl is very limited on time with the hubby and 2 dogs. But I definitely think I can squeeze in an episode or 2 as bonus content. And I'm also thinking about, on a couple cases, I'm thinking of all the cases I post a month. So usually 4, 1 a week, maybe 2 of them. I essentially record my own thoughts on the case. Unfiltered, my thoughts. A lot of our cases are a little bit more controversial than others. And I love to just give you my raw opinions about them because I have them, and I hold back because I'd rather just present you with the facts and leave you at that and let you spread the word and come up with your own conclusion about what you think might have happened or whatever the case is. But it'd be really cool to share that side of myself with you guys and share my thoughts about some of the cases, completely unfiltered, my personal opinions. So maybe 2 bonus episodes and then a couple episodes of just me talking to you guys as Raven and giving you my personal opinions on some of our more complex cases. So just a thought, nothing concrete yet. Let me know what you think in the comments. DM me on social media accounts. Send me an email, forgottenechoespodcast@gmail.com. I love to hear your thoughts. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. On a chilly October night in 2013, the bright lights of Wayne State University glowed steadily against the dark Detroit skyline. But somewhere between law books and an online final exam, a mother of 3, Tiané Brown, took an exam, logged off her computer, and then was never seen alive again. 2 days later, her car was discovered near the ruins of an old Packard plant. Inside, Tiané was strapped in the front seat, barefoot, and was shot behind the ear. Almost 12 years later, and her murder still remains unsolved. This is episode 17, The Murder of Tiané Brown. Sources for today's episode include Crime Daily News, True Crime News, CBS News, Fox 2 Detroit, and Detroit News. Now let's get into the case. It was the evening of October 30th in Detroit, Michigan. The air was heavy with the kind of chill that only late fall can bring. Somewhere near the crumbling shell of a once thriving Packer plant, a place long abandoned, something caught the eye of two homeless men. A vehicle, out of place, and motionless. It was a purple Chevy Trailblazer. Curious and unsettled, they approached the SUV and quickly realized something was very wrong. They called the police and led officers to what would soon be declared a crime scene. What police found inside that vehicle will leave investigators shaken to the core. Slumped in the driver's seat, still strapped in by her seatbelt, was the body of a young woman. At first glance, it looked like an accident, a medical emergency perhaps, but the truth was far darker. Upon closer inspection, officers discovered a single, precise gunshot wound just behind her ear. This was no accident. This was an execution. The vehicle was quickly traced back to its owner, 33-year-old Tiané Brown, a mother, a daughter, a third-year law student at Wayne State University, just months away from her graduation. For detectives, the first and most urgent question was, who was Tiané Brown? And perhaps even more chilling, why would someone want her dead? Tiané Asha Noel Brown was born on December 31st, 1979 in Southfield, Michigan. She was born to parents Dr. Cheryl Jones and Daryl McCreary and had a brother, Dante. Growing up, Tiané was described as being gifted, ambitious, and inquisitive, and boy, did she live up to those names. For elementary and middle school, she went to St. Scholastica Catholic School, and for high school, she went to Renaissance High in Detroit, where she graduated with honors in 1997. She was the kind of student that you knew was just going to leave her mark on the world. The world was truly her oyster. Shortly after graduation, Tiané found something else, and that was love. She married her high school sweetheart, Toriana Sims, in October of 2000, and not long after, she stepped into her most prized role, motherhood. Her first daughter, Nina, was followed by Toriana and then Jada, 3 beautiful girls who meant the world to her. And for a while, everything seemed so peaceful. She had marriage, children, and a promising future. But even the brightest stories can have their cracks. The relationship between Tiané and Toriana began to show signs of strain, and eventually their marriage ended. But not their respect for one another. And Tiané and Toriana kept things amicable and were committed to keeping the peace for their daughter's sake. Because that was just the type of people they were. When it came to motherhood, Tiané was super hands-on and really connected with her children, especially her oldest, Nina. Being a mother wasn't something she just balanced in her life. It was who she was at her core. Her mother, Cheryl, told True Crime News that her daughter made it very clear being a mom was her most cherished role in her life. She loved to cook with her daughters and dance with them, and was known for her hearty laugh, which everyone described as contagious. And a quick peek at her social media accounts showed nothing but positivity. They were filled with posts about school, motherhood, and empowering quotes. But being a mother didn't slow her down whatsoever. While many might struggle to juggle family, work, ambition, cough, cough myself, Tiané made it look effortless. She didn't just chase degrees, she collected them. And when I say she collected them, I mean she was racking them up like they were infinity stones. If you know, you know. So after high school, she enrolled in Wayne State University and earned a bachelor's degree in biological sciences, a field that will lead her to start her career as an EMT at Beaumont Hospital. From there, she took things a step further, becoming a biomedical engineer, a role where her science background truly came to life. But Tiané wasn't finished just yet. She went on to earn a master's in business administration, or an MBA, adding yet another powerful tool to her professional toolkit, if you will. And then she pivoted again, enrolling in law school at Wayne State. Her goal was eventually to become a patent attorney specializing in intellectual property law, a field where science and legality meet. By the time of her death, she was in her third year of law school, just months away from walking across the stage, diploma in hand. And I believe she was awarded this degree posthumously in 2014. While studying law, she worked as a law clerk at a local law firm, building real experience in real time, getting her foot in the door, you know how it goes. And she's doing all this while she's wrapping up school. And don't get it twisted, she wasn't just present in class, she was leading from the front. Tiané served as a member of the Black Law Students Association, and she was the president of Wayne State's Intellectual Property Student Association. Say that fast 5 times, because wow. To say she had it going on would be an understatement. She is the OG girl boss. Before there was Sophie Amoruso, there was Tiané Brown, because 3 daughters, 3 prestigious degrees, a career in science, a pivot into law, leadership roles in the legal community. She was doing it all and doing it with purpose, which only deepens the mystery. Because a woman like Tiané Brown doesn't just come up dead, and at least for no reason. Now, October 28th, 2013 started like any other day. Tiané dropped her daughters off at her mom's house, which was normal routine when she had school in the evening. She spoke to her ex-husband on the way to school as she was headed to the library to take an online final exam. Nothing was amiss. She logged into the online test, she finished her exam, and she signed off around 11 p.m. or so. But what happened next is still a mystery. The security camera in the law library was broken, so no footage was able to be recovered. And I want to say this because it's always the cameras. So PSA, y'all, make sure your cameras are working, they are plugged in and on, because man, the amount of cases that could be solved if they were. And on top of that, there were no witnesses to confirm a sighting of her or to even point to where she might have went after taking her online exam. But while the city slept, something didn't feel quite right to Tiané's oldest daughter, Nina, who had tried calling her mom several times that evening. One call, then another, but by the third unanswered ring, concern turned into fear. This wasn't normal, not by a long shot. Tiané and Nina were incredibly close, practically inseparable. They talked constantly, shared everything, and Nina knew her mother's schedule like the back of her hand. Nina expected her to call her once her exam was over, just like she always did. Whether it was just to say goodnight, check in, or let them know she was on her way to pick them up, it didn't matter. What mattered was that she always called. But tonight, there was nothing. By now it's around 2 a.m., and Nina couldn't shake the feeling something was off. She stormed into her grandmother Cheryl's bedroom, panicked, telling her, "My mom's not answering, something's wrong." And Cheryl didn't waste a second. She sprang into action and jumped in her car, first stopping at Tiané's townhome not too far away from her own home. But it was empty. No sign of Tiané. And that's when panic set in. From there, Cheryl retraced the steps her daughter might have taken. Her mind racing, she headed to Wayne State University Law Library, hoping Tiané was still there, maybe finishing up her studies or tying up loose ends. She stated, quote, "I checked every study room in that library. I knew something was wrong. She wouldn't just disappear," quote. But once again, there was nothing. At this point, Cheryl is in full-blown panic mode, and she wasted no time getting in touch with the campus police, desperate for answers, trying to make sense of her daughter's sudden disappearance. But they weren't too concerned. I mean, it's after final exams, and they know college students want to go out and let loose and just have a good time. So they're telling her mom maybe she went out to grab some drinks with friends, or maybe she went to a party and didn't tell her, but not to worry about it. They essentially say that if she's still missing, they will pick it up tomorrow. Now, obviously you've heard everything I said about Tiané, and her mother knows her better than anyone. And she's like, there's no way she would go out and party and not answer her daughter's calls. So her mom and campus police quickly look around the parking lot to see if her car is still there, and her purple Chevy is nowhere to be found. So at this point, campus police are like, see, she's not here. She took her exam and left, and she's not answering your calls because, duh, she's partying and having fun. Relax a little bit. Now, I just told you the type of person Tiané was. Studious and responsible, and she was a great mother. There is no way that happened. Her mom knew something is wrong here. So she went to look for her that next day. Now, the following morning, Cheryl is up and she's looking for her daughter immediately. She went to 4 different police departments by the afternoon just to get help and just to really get someone to take her seriously. Cheryl and her husband spent October 29th putting up missing posters around the school, and they even got students to organize a search for Tiané, as well as start a Facebook page and alert for her. But nothing came of all of their efforts. At this point, it's been 2 days since anyone has seen or heard from Tiané, and her family was desperate for answers. Then a call came into the police from an unlikely place. 2 homeless men had stumbled upon something unusual in a quiet, fenced-off lot near the decaying ruins of Detroit's old Packer plant. There, tucked away, was a purple SUV. It looked out of place, like it didn't belong. And it's kind of hard to envision this, especially if you're not from the Detroit area. I didn't know what a Packer plant was, so bear with me. When I make this Instagram post for this episode, I will include a picture of the car in the lot. Now, investigators quickly searched the car, and they noticed someone still in the vehicle. That someone was quickly identified as Tiané Brown, and the car was her purple Trailblazer. On that day, Tiané's mother received the worst possible call no mother should ever get. In the following audio clip, Nina, Tiané's oldest daughter, recalls the evening police found her mother murdered.
Someone called and told us to come down to the police station, and they let in my grandmother and her husband, and I wasn't allowed to go upstairs. And I heard my grandmother scream, and that's when I knew.
What did you think when you heard her screams?
That I'm alone. I felt really alone. We came home. It was like that was it. I woke up with a mother and I went to bed without one.
And to quickly describe the scene, Tiané was still strapped into the driver's seat. Her body was slumped forward, and there was a single gunshot wound just behind her right ear. The whole scene told a story of violence. The driver's side door was open and her shoes were gone. It looked as if she was trying to escape but couldn't quite make it out her car in time. Police were dumbfounded by the scene and quickly looked for anything in the car that might have been missing, and they noticed they couldn't find her phone. But not for long. Police quickly tracked it, only to find it in the hands of 2 men. And in a shocking twist, those men turned out to be the same ones that called 911. The very people who reported finding Tiané's body were now in custody, linked not just to her discovery, but possibly her murder. But after being arrested and interrogated, both men were ruled out. It seems like they found her keys and phone and maybe planned to take the car, but that's when they saw that there was a body inside and called the police. And this is where investigators hit a wall almost immediately. Detroit Police Captain Donna McCord stated, quote, "We have ideas about who may be involved, but without stronger evidence, we can't make an arrest. It's not enough yet," quote. Naturally, their first move was to look at people closest to Tiané, and that meant turning their attention to her ex-husband, Toriana Sims. And honestly, they had every reason to. During their marriage, Tiané filed 3 protective orders against him. All 3 were later dropped. The orders stemmed from incidents involving domestic violence, and one even included a voicemail where he threatened to kill her. So yeah, that's a red flag, and police brought him in right away, and he was given a polygraph test. Now, if you've listened to any of my episodes, you already know how I feel about polygraphs. They're not hard evidence, they're not admissible in court, and they're definitely not the magic truth detectors TV makes them out to be. So when Toriana's results came back inconclusive, it didn't really raise red flags for investigators. In fact, quite the opposite. He was cooperative from the very beginning, willing to talk, willing to help, and according to reports, he was visibly extremely distraught over Tiané's death. So eventually, he was ruled out as a suspect. I like to also point out that even Tiané's mother stood by him. She didn't believe he had anything to do with her daughter's murder. So, if not him, then who? I couldn't find any indication that Tiané was in a new relationship, and if investigators have any other strong leads, they've never made it public. There was something suspicious, though. After her murder, activity showed up on one of Tiané's credit cards. It had been used at a local gas station not far from Wayne State University around midnight on October 29th. Surveillance footage captured two men using her credit card. And to be clear, not the same two men who found her body. But here's where things go quiet again. Those two individuals were labeled persons of interest, but they were never identified. Their images were a little too grainy, and so it made it really hard for anyone to really identify them. I personally saw the footage on True Crime News, and I can understand why you couldn't really see who they were. I think one of them had their face covered. They weren't looking directly at the camera. You just know it's two men, but there's no distinctive features that can really be pointed out because of the quality of the surveillance footage. Now, their names were never released if they do know who they were, at least to the public. And so we don't really know if they were ever identified. Still, that's one of the most haunting questions in this entire case, in my opinion. Who were the two men using Tiané's credit card? Could they have any information, and could they be involved? Because as of this recording, no one has been charged with Tiané's murder. No official suspects have been named, and while the case remains technically open, it's cold. And this is where the trail ends for now. Nearly 12 years have passed since Tiané's life was stolen, but those who loved her, time has done little to dull the pain. The grief still lives in every unanswered question, in every birthday missed, and in every quiet moment. Her three daughters have grown up in the shadow of her absence. Nina, her oldest, once her mom's partner in crime, her confidant, took the loss the hardest. But following in her mother's footsteps, she joined the Law Association Club in high school, and I couldn't quite find what she's doing today. I hope it's something special, though. Her grandmother remembers the nights they would curl up together, holding tight to one another, going over scripture, hoping it would ease the aching pain. Two grieving souls just trying to find comfort in the words of faith. Quote, "She lost her best friend," Cheryl said softly, "and her mother." Quote, Tiané's youngest daughter was only 18 months old when her mother was killed. She has no memories of her, but now she's old enough to start asking questions. Questions no child should ever have to ask. Questions no one has been able to answer. And for Cheryl Jones, the pain has never left. She stated, quote, "She was my only daughter," she said, "and it will always hurt. All I want is justice because she mattered," quote. Now here's the call to action. Someone out there knows what happened to Tiané Brown. It's been over a decade, but the silence still speaks louder than words. Her daughters are growing up without a mother. Her mother is still grieving without justice. And every day that passes without answers is another day her family is forced to carry a weight they shouldn't have to bear. If you know something, anything at all, please come forward. Call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-SPEAK-UP. You can remain anonymous, and there's a $10,000 reward for any information that leads to an arrest. You can also contact the Detroit Police Department's Homicide Division at area code 313-596-2260. Tiané mattered. Her life mattered. And her story isn't over. Sending so much love to her family. Thank you for tuning in to episode 17 of Forgotten Echoes. If you appreciate the cases I cover, download this episode, yes you, and leave a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Also, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram for visuals of the cases covered. And I've been so bad with social media, you guys, specifically TikTok, but June is a new month and I've got some new stuff coming and I'm excited to share it with you all and get back on track. I'm Raven Syad, and I'll see you next week with another case that needs to be remembered. Stay vigilant, stay aware, and keep the echoes of the forgotten alive. I'll see you soon.